What's the difference between method and methodology? Are they the same thing? Can I use them interchangeably? Well, no and no. Methodology is the big picture strategy, and methods are the practical tools that you use to get the job done. Think of it like this. If your PhD was a house, the methodology would be the architect's blueprint, and the methods would be the hammer, the nails, the bricks, etc. that are used to build the house. I'm going to break all of that down in this video. If we've not met before, hi, I'm Dr. Elizabeth Yardley, and here on my YouTube channel, I help PhD students get out of their own way and get their doctorates finished. Academic jargon and terminology can be really confusing, and there are a lot of terms out there that sound similar, but their meanings are actually quite different. And you don't want to look stupid, right? So it feels weird to be asking, what's the difference between this one and that one, method and methodology? Because you think you should just know this by now. Well, don't worry, because it's not just you. And it could be the case that your supervisor doesn't know the difference either. And that's not to be insulting to your supervisor. That is just to highlight that in academia, we don't often take the time to ensure that people know the basics before we get onto the complex stuff. We just dive right into the difficult, and we simply assume that everybody knows the stuff that comes before it. Well, they don't. So anyway, methodology, let's get into it. You might be thinking, does it really matter if I mix up method and methodology? Well, yeah. Using the right term in the right place shows you know your stuff. Plus, it helps your written work sound polished and professional. And if you're doing a viva or a thesis defence, your examiners are going to expect you to explain your methodology, why you took that particular approach. They don't want you to just list your methods, they want you to justify them. So let's break all that down step by step. Think of your methodology as the strategy and the philosophy behind your research. It's the higher level thinking that guides your approach. Methodology answers the how and the why questions behind what you're doing. It's not just, I'm doing 15 semi-structured interviews. It's why you're doing those interviews and how they fit into your overall research design. It's a bit like this. Imagine you're building a piece of flat pack self-assembly furniture. The methodology is your approach to the project. Are you someone who reads the manual, who reads the instructions from start to finish, a structured step-by-step planner? That's me. Or do you freestyle it and figure it out as you go? A more exploratory approach. That's my husband. Your methodology reflects your perspective, your starting point, your values, and the principles that shape your decisions. So in research terms, your methodology explains your research paradigm. Now, if the word paradigm gives you the ick, I will link to a playlist up here that will help you get your head around all of that. Whether you're taking a qualitative approach, a quantitative approach, or a mix of both. Why you've chosen these approaches and why they're suitable for your research questions. So methodology is the roadmap that guides your research journey. It explains your worldview, your research design, and your reasoning. So method. If methodology is your approach, a method is a specific tool that you use to gather data. If methodology is the game plan for putting together flat pack furniture, methods are the screwdrivers, the Allen keys, and those tiny little wooden dowels. And you always end up with a few spare wooden dowels, don't you? What do you do with them? In our house, they just get tucked away in drawers and boxes, and we play this fun game of what does this belong to? Anyway, as I was saying, methodology is your approach, and methods are the specific tools that you use within that approach. Methods are the practical on-the-ground techniques that you use to collect your data. For example, interviews, surveys, focus groups, document analysis. Essentially, methods are the what and the how. What tools you use and how you carry out your research. Let me know in the comments what methods you're using or planning on using in your research. As anyone who's a regular on this channel will know, I am super nosy when it comes to other people's research because you are doing some really interesting stuff out there. So tell me all about it in the comments. Get typing, I'd love to hear from you. Methodology. Let's take a look at an example. Say you're doing a piece of research on how parents who are students balance their home life with their academic study. Your methodology might feature interpretivism and a qualitative approach because you want to understand people's lived experiences and subjective realities. Your methods could be semi-structured interviews because you want rich, detailed stories, but also enough structure to compare themes across different interviews. Another example. Say you're doing a PhD on whether regular exercise improves student productivity. Your methodology might be underpinned by a positivist paradigm, and it might be quantitative because you believe there's an objective truth that you can measure. Exercise either improves productivity or it doesn't. Your methods could include a controlled experiment where participants log their exercise routines and complete productivity tasks with you measuring their output, so the number of words they've written, the number of tasks they've completed, and comparing that across groups. So can you see how the methodology is the big picture approach and the methods are the tools that you're using to gather data? Now that you're feeling a bit clearer, let's bust some common myths about methods and methodology. First up, methods and methodology are interchangeable. No, your methods are part of your methodology, but they're not the same thing. Next up, a methodology is just a list of methods. It isn't just a list of methods. Your methodology chapter isn't just about saying what you're doing. It's about saying why you're doing that and how that fits into your wider research philosophy, your wider research approach. Another one is, I don't need to explain my methods, everybody knows what interviews are. Actually, you do. Your reader needs to know exactly how you designed your interviews, how many you conducted, how you handled ethical considerations, and why you were doing them in the first place. So many PhD students don't tackle the why in their methodology chapter. This is super important, and I've got a separate video about that, which is popping up on your screen right now. So if you want to learn exactly how to ensure you're covering the why, go and check that out. I'll see you in there.